Welcome back to the show. It's time for our Impact interview, and we're going to switch things up for 1 week. Nittany Game Week encourages viewer participation, and we know you have questions, so we're going to try to provide some answers. The coaches and I are going to tackle some of your fan questions, and the first one we deal with is about the offensive line, a common theme. Kathy writes on Facebook, it seems consistently that we have offensive line issues. Are they recruiting hard for offensive line players? Can we have a reason to get our hopes up? And Tony from Lebanon also chimed in, writing, what and how do we fix the problem with the offensive line? Is it the players we recruit, the offensive line coach, play calling, or a combination of all?
Well, let me say this. Let's go back, and I think we've got it. I know you guys have been teasing me all the time during when I said we need more men's. And I think we need to go out and get a lot more people to play offensive line. They're the hardest guys to find. The skill guys are easier to find. Those offensive line guys take time to develop, okay? A little bit easier now because of the transfer portal. You can get them in and get some guys a little bit older maybe to come in and play. But you need a lot of these guys. If you're never going to, I don't think you can really be dominant in the Big Ten if you cannot run the football. Because I think that's the thing that's going to help you win championships.
I think Michigan certainly showed that Saturday against Ohio State. And I think you got to talk about the weight room at some point, too. If you're evaluating yourself, you probably want to take a look at what you're doing in the weight room.
Make sure you have enough so you can have a little bit of hit and miss, potentially. Sticking on the offensive side of the ball, our next question is about the effectiveness of the O, or lack thereof, when needed in crunch time. Marcus from Doylestown asks, when one side of the ball clearly not as effective as the other, and it never seems to get better throughout the season, how much is that a reflection on the offensive coordinator versus the head coach?
Well, I think part of it is there were some execution issues on some plays. I mean, it's a lot of different things. And I think at some point the head coach got to get involved. You know, the CEO head coach can work for only so long. At some point, there's got to be some give and take there, and he's got to. Again, the buck stops with the head coach.
You know, I think the one thing, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be an interesting offseason, obviously, for them, because this is one area that's must be fixed.
Yeah.
All right, our third question is about college versus NFL success, and it's for Tom. Mark from Greensburg writes, Mr. Bradley, love the respect. Some of the guys who have graduated and played for our program over the past 8 years have done fairly well in the NFL. You have experience at both levels and are an outstanding coach. Did you write this, Tom? How do you explain their middle-of-the-road success in college versus extraordinary success in the NFL?
I knew you weren't going to let that go. Okay.
Couldn't resist.
Couldn't resist it. Hey, anyway, I think what happens is, too, like schematically, it's different what you play in college a lot of times to what you see in the NFL. The NFL's offenses are more standard week in and week out. College, as you know, 1 week you could be seeing the veer, the spread, the power game. It's different from week to week. And a lot of times your assignments become a little bit simpler as you get into the NFL. Also, you're not going to school either, and your whole time, what are you doing? Football.
Yeah, I think you look at Micah Parsons, they've really made him a pass rusher in the NFL, where there's a lot less to. I mean, when he goes after the passer, it's different than having to sit back and read a lot of things.
Everybody matures differently, too. Yeah. People forget these are 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. You get to the next level, you're becoming a little bit more of a men's, right?
And some people never mature at all. So, I mean, so there you have it.
All right, James Franklin's new deal, of course, on many of your minds. A lot of questions being asked about it this week. Brett from Williamsport asks, what were the factors that the compensation committee used to make their decision on giving Coach Franklin the extension?
Well, I'll take this one since I'm on the board of trustees. Contracts other than the president's go to a subcommittee on compensation. So they were given a presentation by Sandy as to why they felt that this was warranted. They felt like they wanted to lock James up for 10 years. The reality is, in 3 years, the buyout is such that James really has the leverage to go if he wants to go. Whereas Penn State is guaranteed all $80 million on the contract. But those are the factors that go into it and how it's done.
Our final question is future facing. Look at the big picture of the Penn State football program moving forward. Lene asks on Facebook, what is your realistic prediction for the success of this team over the next 10 years?
Predicting success over the next 10 weeks or 10 months is hard enough, let alone 10 years. I think there's going to be a lot of transition because there's going to be new faces in a lot of places playing next year. The front half of the schedule next year is very difficult with going to Purdue, going to Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa. So I think that, next year's probably a building year. and then we'll see what happens after that.
And then you're going to have some coaching changes next year just because, Coach Pry left and we're going to run with your staff's going to change. Who's the coordinator? Who's coaching linebackers? There's going to be a lot of different things there that'll be unsettled.
Yeah, losing a lot of experience. They're going to have to fill a lot of positions with some young players. If they sign a great recruiting class, great. Be patient, right? I know everybody wants to win immediately, that type of deal, tough schedule. But Coach Franklin, he's there. He's got the extension. He's going to be there. So let's see what they can do and address some of those coaching positions, some of the schematic stuff, and move forward from there. All right, we appreciate your questions. Keep them coming. And make sure you visit our website, NittanyGameWeek.com, for all kinds of content, previous Impact interviews, of course, along with our web-exclusive features. Nittany Game Week continues all the way through the new year. So make sure you keep watching. The regular season is over, and we've had some fun road trips. The last one results in a quality snow angel in the field at Spartan Stadium. We talk road tripping and show off some pride picks when we return on Nittany Game Week.
Look at that form.